And we're live. Who's gonna wait? Who's hosting? Oh, I guess I'm hosting.
You said you were.
I can do the opening spiel.
Do it, Tim.
Welcome to another exciting episode of the KLIQ Nation's Comic Book Chronicles.
Just professional.
I'm your host for the first portion of the podcast. My name's Tim Theo Double G. And tonight I'm joined by the man behind the sound effects. That's at Agent_70 on Twitter.
What's up, everybody? The ladies are in the house too.
That is a ridiculous amount of applause.
Yeah, no. And that voice and face you see in here is at PCN_Dirt on Twitter.
Hi, ladies.
And we also have at RowdyCat on Twitter.
Straight from Heroes Con.
Yeah, I know. Thanks. Yeah.
No ladies?
No, apparently not.
No,
Yeah,
they are.
I tell you, I get no respect.
They're there.
So make sure to go to our website, thekliqnation.com, where you can find previous episodes of the Comic Book Chronicles and comic book reviews and news. On the homepage, you'll see links to our social media accounts. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Google+, and make sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, YouTube.com, Google Play, and TuneIn Radio. Remember, we're part of the Cold Slither Podcast Network. Go to cspn.us, do it today. And make sure to buy some Comic Book Chronicles merchandise by going to shop.cspn.us. Remember, we record live every Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you're on social media discussing comic books, join the conversation by using the hashtags Comic Book Chronicles or CBChron. So with that, we have some nice, fun comic books to get to our review portion of the show this week. But first, we're going to kick things off with, I guess, the prologue to DC Comics' big summer blockbuster event, and that is Dark Days, The Forge, #1.
Yep.
Shiny metallic Dark Days, The Forge.
Yeah, very shiny.
So before the show, we were commenting, or I was commenting, how I really enjoyed this issue, but I had a hard time understanding what the heck was going on.
Yeah, there's a lot.
I knew what was going on. There's a lot of the Easter eggs I did not understand.
Yeah, there's lots of references that, because there's a lot of there's multiple plot lines going on in this. So, we have parallel plot lines that follow Green Lantern and Batman, and who they're interacting with. So there's a lot of stuff going on.
Hawkman, even.
Yes, Carter Hall.
And we see Aquaman for a second or two.
Yes.
I wonder if we ever get
doesn't have a code name yet.
I wonder if we ever get was it 7C storyline in Aquaman that was teased like 4 years ago? Rise of the Seven Seas.
It was wiped out by Rebirth.
Yeah, that's neither here or there.
No kidding.
But as far as The Forge goes, I was actually shocked by how much I actually liked it, because I was expecting to hate this thing, because it felt like it came out of nowhere and it was just kind of forced. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, we're doing this crossover thing. And it's like, oh, come on, But as it played out, it definitely seemed like it took Batman's secrets to an extreme. that he's got all this stuff hidden in all these places all over the world, with the most obscure locks and the most bizarre ways of getting to it. But as the story progressed, I found myself getting more and more drawn into it, and the way it kept weaving things together, I actually found myself like getting into the story. I was shocked, and when I set it down, I was like, "Oh my gosh! Like, I can't wait to read the next part. This actually seems pretty cool."
I agree.
Batman had a secret team going.
I agree. And
the Outsiders.
Yeah,
I mean,
was this the first time that we've seen the Outsiders?
Right? This is not the first time Batman's had some secrets that has become a big storyline.
No, but this is the first time it felt like it took it to a real extreme for the entire DC universe. Like there's always some hidden stuff, and usually it's like some new piece of tech that comes out of nowhere, or
it was like when he had the weaknesses of the Justice League all
right.
What was it, Tower of Babel?
Right. So he had like all their he had a little piece of kryptonite and a little, whatever for each individual character. But so it felt like the setup was a little too forced, but then once it started going and started rolling through, it's like almost like National Treasure. When you're watching it, and you're like, this is the dumbest thing ever. But then about halfway through, you're just like, oh, I'm really into this now, even though this is kind of stupid. I kind of felt the same way with this. It was a lot more entertaining than I ever expected.
Okay.
So we had some guest appearances from the likes of Aquaman, Duke Thomas, Hal Jordan, Green Lantern. We had sort of the origin and explanation of how Hawkman, his origin works with the reincarnation.
All right, we had Mr. Terrific.
Yeah, Mr. Terrific.
So
we had a bunch of references to the different metals in the DC universe.
Yeah, so there's multiple Hawk people throughout the DC universe. So you've got like the outer space Hawkman who recently died, and probably to clear him out of the way for this guy. But there's the nth metal Hawkman who we saw at the beginning of the New 52. He made a reappearance, and then I think you found out in that series that he was part of the reincarnation, but he just didn't know it at the time. And then he disappeared, and then outer space Hawkman appeared, and he started appearing in I think the Justice League books. And then they did the whole story with him dying. And then now that he's gone, they've gone back to the nth metal guy, who's the reincarnation Hawkman. So even in the fixed New 52, there's still some Hawkman problems that they eventually got to work out.
Weird.
Because they keep bringing one back after killing off another.
Making it very confusing for new readers, aka me.
There you go.
Yeah, but that's why you have Wikipedia, right?
They probably have it confusing on there too. I'm trying to think who else we saw. So we saw the Outsiders. We saw references to the Immortal Man or Immortal Men this time.
You mentioned a certain man of plastic.
Yes, an egg, the appropriate Easter egg sized.
Okay.
And then we had the last page reveal of another character.
Yeah, that was kind of out of nowhere.
Fans will be familiar with.
Just in case.
A lot at play here.
So, I mean, I definitely recommend it. I was not looking forward to it before it came out, but after reading it, I definitely recommend it. Especially to people who are the type that, they read the Crisis stuff, they read the Flashpoint stuff, they read the, whenever there's like a big event. This does have the feel like it's going to be a big event. So, like I said, definitely much more excited by it than I thought I would be.
And that's Dark Days to Forge.
Right. Just very quickly on the art, it was split up amongst the three main artists: Jim Lee, John Romita Jr., and was it Andy Kubert?
It was Andy.
Right. So it was a nice it was a nice mix of the three styles. JR Jr. didn't go too far overboard with his stylistic renditions, and I like the no spoilers here. A very, very Kirby-esque technology that Jim Lee drew. Okay, mild spoilers. I'll ring the bell.
Okay.
Mild spoilers.
But yeah, there was a good art throughout. I enjoyed it, and I've always considered Andy the better of the Kubert brothers.
I disagree, but we'll agree to disagree.
I think it was Andy. Andy's one that used to draw.
Andy did
X-Men.
Origin.
One thing like back to X-Men back in the
Right.
early 2000s
They both
or
did
late
X-Men.
90s.
Who did Detective?
That's a good question.
Don't
Sure.
See, one of them was doing Detective back around when it did the 666 issue.
I think it was Andy.
I'll go with Andy.
He's done a lot more DC stuff, I think.
Well, he's the better man.
Ha 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 ha. All righty.
So next up is another big event book at the other publisher, Marvel Comics. That is Secret Empire number 4, I believe. It is 4, right?
It is 4, yes.
Yes.
Holy cow, we're at number 4.
Wait, how many more we have?
6.
Oh, okay.
There's 10 issues.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This felt
I
like
mean,
a slog.
yay, 10 issues. Yay.
No. I definitely agree with you guys on this one. This issue felt like kind of a slog because we've kind of degenerated into, and no real spoilers here, but I'm going to ring the bell. We've degenerated into multiple quests to gather fragments. Either it's G.I. Joe mini movie, or it's kind of like a Fellowship of the Rings type quest. To gather these pieces of these shards of a broken cosmic cube, and ultimately, the story weaves itself into recent Marvel continuity by bringing in a number of characters with their current status quo and kind of establishing what their role is now in the post-Hydra Cap takeover.
So they kind of, as you see on the cover, Ultron, Hank Pym, makes an appearance, and they kind of quickly try to explain away how he'd, last time we saw him, he was shot, I think, into the sun in Uncanny Avengers. But now he's back on Earth, yet he somehow got back on Earth before the shield got risen by Hydra Cap. So now Ultron has his own section of the world where he's created a bunch of Ultron drones. And apparently a piece of the Cosmic Cube shard is on his domain. So the Resistance and Hydra both seek out that shard, and then they get captured and have a family dinner with Pymtron.
Ah, nice.
Wait, family dinner. Do you mean Nadia was there?
No, but she is referenced. No, she's not. What's her name? The other one.
Janet.
Janet.
At least yeah.
Yeah. So
Because he doesn't know about Nadia, I don't think.
Right.
But there's a lot of, Hank, his self, not, is it, I guess, is it considered self-consciousness, or his, how everyone is considered better than him? Like Tony Stark's a better.
yeah,
Huh?
like his low self-esteem.
Yes. Stark is smarter than him. He's a founding Avenger, but doesn't get any respect because he hit his wife at the time.
Yeah.
All right, so I've got a question for you. Of course, I have not read this after the second issue, but I heard a couple people in the store say that they felt like the issue was somehow, like, it didn't feel like it blended well from the last one. It felt kind of disconnected. Does that make sense to anybody?
A little,
yes.
because the connection is right up front. It does flow from one issue to the next because the reveal at the end of the last issue leads right into the beginning of this issue. because that maybe not right into, but that character who's revealed on the last page splash kind of leads off the main story here.
But then the story goes off in some other direction. Or
Yeah,
something?
it definitely does. It definitely does, because, like I said, we follow the Fellowship as they're looking for shards of the Cosmic Cube, and we kind of this is their quest to gain a shard, which is in Ultron Land, which is where Hank Pymtron is.
Every time you say that, I think you're saying Pimptron.
Ah!
I'm thinking of, was it Conan O'Brien? Yeah.
About 5,000. I'll cut you.
Now that's a comic I would buy.
There you go. I've got to get that sound effect. I'll cut you.
Oh no.
Oh, that's funny. So, we have more details on the efforts of Black Widow and the Champions in trying to infiltrate Hydra and make an attempt upon Hydra Cap's life to try to end it. And there's still some lines the Champions will not cross yet. So that's another thing that's developed here.
So, are you liking this series, or are you just reading it?
I'm just reading it. I think this issue, like I said, was a slog. This was definitely a bit of a slog to try to get through. The awkward part was the whole interaction with Pymtron, and that kind of made for kind of awkward and just difficult reading. But like I said, it's just another chapter in the Fellowship story. So
there was an article from, I can't remember who it is, but it's in the show notes, which I forgot to tweet out. Talking about now Ultron Pymtron is the most sensible man in the universe. Does that read proper? The way he comes in? I don't know.
What do you mean?
I don't know.
You mean sensible, like because he's like a third party to the two sides?
I guess. I don't know. I honestly didn't read the article yet. I just put it in there so I could read it later.
That might be what they're referencing. There's the two sides. There's the Hydra side and the anti-Hydra side, and he's sort of in the middle. And, I guess he takes a very reasoned approach to, the two sides kind of destroying each other, because, that's eventually what they're going to do.
And that's Secret Empire. Number 4.
Pretty much.
So now I open the floor up to suggestions, because I've only read one other book this week.
Well, did anybody read Secret Empire United?
Nay.
Not yet.
Nope.
Okay, well, that answers that question. Well, let me go to Flash then real quick, because Flash is similar to The Forge. It is chock full of old school, some Flash history, the fact that Reverse Flash remembers everything of the old universe, and he's now trying to use it against Barry and Wally and Iris in the worst ways possible. If anybody remembers what happened with Reverse Flash in the old DC universe back in the, I think it was the late 70s, maybe it was the early 80s. Flash ended up being on trial for murder committed by Reverse Flash. We're now getting echoes of that. He remembers that, and of course, being the villain that he is, he wants to relive those quote-unquote glory days. And so it's another one of those books where it really helps if you know the history of the character. If you've read more than one Who's Who in the DC universe over the years, there's definitely some things that it's hearkening back to. But as an uber nerd that reads all this stuff, this is, again, my bread and butter for comic stuff, all of these references and throws. Yeah, there you go. I'm proud of it, buddy. So yeah, I love this book. Again, if you've only read Flash since the New 52 or even Rebirth, there's a lot of the stuff that's going to go over your head. But they at least, if not, they don't really explain it, but they at least reference it, so they're talking about something that has happened before and something in the past in the history, and you could probably do a quick Google search and figure out exactly what they're referring to. But I really enjoyed it. Again, the artwork is fantastic in this book. I love the guy whose name I can't pronounce, Di Giandomenico.
Yeah, I don't. Hold on. Now I'm going to scroll through because I read this. I enjoyed it as well. Di Giandomenico.
There you go.
So
Happy New Year.
I agree with your assessment of the book. I am not nearly as well versed in the Flash history, so I definitely kind of glossed over a lot of the finer points and a lot of the Easter eggs that were finally laid out in front of me, and I just could not make sense of them. I had a very, I know of the Flash's history in very broad strokes, and I'm even kind of refamiliarized with the story behind the Reverse Flash, because all I remember is like some Wade Wieringo Flash from like the mid '90s where the Reverse Flash came back. That's as far as I go. But because of the Flash television show, like the first season or two that I stuck with and watched, that's my point of reference right now. And if all you have is that, and you're reading this issue, you're familiar enough with what the Reverse Flash is intending to do, even though it still came as a shock to me at the end, and that I thought was a good cliffhanger ending.
Yeah, I definitely thought it was a lot of fun, and it made me. I've really enjoyed the last, 6 months. Whenever they like switched it up to the twice a month biweekly. I think it's been really good. I've really enjoyed reading it. So definitely a must for Flash fans out there.
So there's a character in here called Multiplex, and I swear to God, I thought he was going to transform just based off of the name.
He's going to show a movie.
Exactly. Like I was just like, wait, what is this guy? Who is it? What is his powers? He's the multiple man. What?
Yeah, basically. But he showed up, I believe, in the early New 52 stuff.
Okay.
So yeah. But anyway,
gotcha.
Yeah, really good stuff. Good artwork, good story.
So just very quickly, I wanted to ask about what did you think of Green Lantern's guest appearance in this? Because that's when it slowed down for me.
Yeah, well, his appearance in this is just a holdover from last issue. It really doesn't serve much purpose as far as this issue goes. But I think one of the key things that they're trying to do is re-establish the friendship between the two of them.
Right.
There was always this, I don't know if you wanted to call it like an in-joke or like a running joke in Justice League, but it was always like
unintended.
Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, those are like the jocks of the Justice League, and they're always there out front, and everybody knows them, whatever. And then you've got like Flash and Green Lantern, who are friends in the background, just kind of hanging out. They're the class clowns, always goofing off, and especially, I guess, during more in the goofy era of Justice League, those two have a lot of fun shenanigans going on. So I think Hal Jordan disappeared from the DC universe for a while. He had to fight his way back from another dimension. So this is their chance to reestablish him.
Post-Parallax?
Yes.
Post-Parallax? Oh my God, that's what happened to him? Okay.
So Parallax is like a different. Yeah, that's a different thing. Forget about all that. But yeah, I think they're trying to build up the friendship between the two of them again, and so that gave him an opportunity. Last issue was Barry's birthday party, and so Hal showed up for it. So that's the only reason why he's still there.
Cool. I enjoyed this issue. Like I said, other than where it slowed down, where there was like that kind of not heart to heart, but it kind of was between Hal and Barry. So, but when they were focusing on Zoom, Reverse Flash and Iris and Wally, it was pretty entertaining.
Yeah, it was pretty intense.
Definitely.
Reverse Flash, anywhere he's shown up recently, has been pretty intense. He seems to be a key part of the ongoing Rebirth shenanigans. So he's probably a character to look for. And then one other thing, if we're going to talk about a book that's chock full of references and Easter eggs and really has a lot of stuff for the hardcore fans, then I got to jump to Legion of Superheroes with Bugs Bunny. This has so many jokes and satires of the Legion of Superheroes, parodies, references to the Legion of Super Pets, and the story is actually told twice. So you get the modern telling of it, and then about 3/4 of the way through the book, the story ends. And then the story retells itself, but as if it had been a 50s or 60s comic. It's so bizarre because, some subtle little differences are made to the storyline, but it's basically the same story told again, but through, an old school comics perspective. It is.
I was going to ask if you'd read this.
Yeah, I haven't read the Marvin the Martian one yet. I looked at enough of it. It's just in my pile. It's the third one down. I just hadn't gotten to it yet. But I read enough of the Marvin the Martian one. Here, let me flip to it real quick. It is set up as a straight up Martian Manhunter, like dark, realistic story. And then suddenly Marvin the Martian pops in and he is, crazy. He's Looney Tunes. But everyone else around him is completely normal. In Legion of Superheroes, there are all these moments where like something happens and they all turn away from the camera and they do, they're looking at stuff and they're just like, and these word balloons come up and like, I must look antsy or no one will understand what's going on. I must look depressed now because I am thinking hard. And you see someone like Timberwolf and he's like, I like to eat red meat and lots of it. And just like all this weird, like crazy, bizarre stuff, really making fun of the Legion, but making fun of the Legion in ways that you really don't understand if you haven't read it. So you got to have some knowledge of Legion to really get some good stuff out of the majority of the book. But my son, of course, he doesn't know anything about it. He just read it for the Bugs Bunny parts. So he just kind of skimmed over the Legion stuff and read the Bugs Bunny stuff, and he still enjoyed it. So
it's an angst attack?
Yes. Exactly.
I'm jazzed to see Wildfire, though. He was always one of my favorite characters when I was a kid. He had such a great design.
So unlike the other ones that came before, the one that with Flintstones and Booster Gold, it was just so it's like, I don't want to say it was sad because it wasn't sad. It was just so unhappy is the weird way to do it. When you're dealing with the Flintstones and stone cars and woolly mammoth dishwashers and stuff like that, and they still make it depressing in Flintstones.
It feels like they kind of made those, they played those kind of straight, whereas this looks like these are kind of going a little bit more on the Looney Tunes side.
Yeah, these are, well, like I said, like the Martian Manhunter one, it's like a straight up Martian Manhunter book where everyone's very serious, as his regular book was. But Marvin is, crazy out there, bent on destruction, whatever. And he's like torn. He's like, oh, this is one of my people, but this guy's, crazy, type of stuff. But the problem with a lot of those is that it felt like they weren't really sure. They didn't want to take it too far one direction or too far another direction, so it was just kind of in the middle, like the Space Ghost Green Lantern one. It was okay. It just didn't do anything really for either character. They were both just there, and they both just happened to be there. Like they were both drawn in kind of mistakenly, and so their paths crossed, but it wasn't really a story meant for either one. Where these, I feel, have done a much better job of establishing the universe they're in and playing up the fact that they're crossing over with each other.
Yeah. This is like I was kind of trying to say, like those other ones were like basically like, okay, they just played them straight. Like, okay, we're just gonna put these two disparate things together and play them like they're both like they belong together, and it's just a team up that just haven't met each other before or something like that. Whereas this goes the other way.
Yeah, these are much more. They allow the zaniness of the Looney Tunes to play out. Where I guess those were Hanna-Barbera, and they just didn't play up any of the fun or the joy of Hanna-Barbera. Whereas here, the Looney Tunes, they're allowing them to play into that. So,
Sam Humphrey's pretty good about throwing silly stuff out there. So I'm sure this one kind of played with this one pretty decently. I have to read it.
All right, who's next?
There was Defenders #1.
Say, is that the one other book you read this week, Tim?
It is. I like how they changed his Luke Cage's hoodie to be gold when originally it was gray in the original image. So this picks up after. I
was gonna say, is they recolored it?
Yeah, they
between when they announced it and when they published it. That's weird.
Yeah, because it's my wallpaper on my laptop right now, and it's a gray hoodie.
The original image, I gotcha.
Yeah, the original image when they announced the book.
Gotcha. Well, I'm not surprised.
The great image from the show.
But this picks up right after the Free Comic Book Day story where, spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert, spoiler alert.
We find out that Diamondback is back alive. The original Diamondback, that's an enemy of Luke Cage. He attacked all the Defenders and shot Jessica Jones, who ends up in the hospital here. Luke, Danny, and Daredevil visit her, find out they share stories, and then they start trying to work together to piece everything together. But great art from David Marquez and Justin Ponsor, I believe, the colorist.
That's definitely, to me, the biggest selling point of this book is that I thought the story, I mean, obviously we see the direct influence that the Netflix Luke Cage show had on this, because that's definitely what Bendis is drawing upon and trying to meld that into the Marvel 616 continuity. So, there's definite nods to the TV show, to the Netflix show here. And especially with the resurrection of Diamondback as a villain, one of the cool aspects of this is that we still at least are going to get some of the Power Man and Iron Fist mood and humor. In the wake of that series of the end of that volume of Power Man and Iron Fist, at least we're getting some of that rolling over into Defenders. So that's a nice touch.
Yep.
And did you guys notice the barbershop from the Netflix show?
Did that show up in the montage portion of it?
No, it's towards the end.
Ah.
It's towards the end. It's the building, spoiler alert. It's the building that Diamondback blows up.
Interesting.
So, it's definitely melding the Netflix show and almost directly.
But yeah, definitely come for the art. Hopefully the story satisfies.
Yeah, I agree with that. Alrighty. So let's see what you guys read.
Well, in that case, let me go ahead and piggyback on that not piggyback, but jump right off from that and get to Black Panther and the Crew, #3. Because, funnily enough that you said that, there was a similar scene where a similar shop, I guess you can go ahead and spoiler alert, so a very similar action to that you just described happens near the end of that book, near the end of this book. So But before all of that, we basically, after coming off of last issue,
Oh no, my apologies. I'm mistaken. It was in this book that I saw it. I am I am mistakenly referencing the scene, the barbershop scene. The
Got
mime
it from here.
Yes, it was in this issue because having seen that and I thought it was in the Defenders book, but it was actually in the Black Panther and the Crew #3.
So what you're saying is you're a liar.
No, just
I just wish you weren't such a liar.
Just mistaken. Let's not, mountain molehill people.
So, anywho, so yeah, so we get a little more history on Ezra Frank and the revolution that he was trying to bring a crew together for, and we come to find out that he was trying to recruit people for this crew. He was almost in an Xavier style, kind of watching out and looking for people with talents to form his crew. And it appears that T'Challa and Aurora, and amongst a few other people, to which they showed a few names. One of them happened to be Adam Brashear, Blue Marvel, and a few names that I wasn't quite aware of, but that was the one that kind of stuck out to me. Were on his list of people that he was kind of looking to recruiting for his crew. So we find that out, and then the rest of the issue is basically Aurora and T'Challa finding this out and trying to figure out what caused, or what was he trying to recruit people for that might have caused his death. And then they end up going to basically hunt down some clues, because they found out they got a lead from this lady that was kind of telling them all of this stuff. And they're going to go check it out. Luke Charles comes back, one of T'Challa's aliases. And then there's some inner monologue with T'Challa about certain things like, I don't know, secret wars, marriages, and an empire. And if the first thing you think of is a secret one, then you're right, because through their hunting out, they come to find out that from the lead that they got, they end up coming across a Hydra base. And from that, you can pretty much see where that's going to lead. But it also leads to the scene that we spoke of in the beginning of this, in that the barbershop gets exploded while Misty is going towards it or is near it. Hence the Luke Cage, hence the Luke Cage reference.
Right.
Or two different parts of the Luke Cage reference, I should say.
I just wanted to note that the array of pictures that I guess Ezra had been recruiting back in the day also included one Gabe Jones, former Howling Commando,
right,
who seemed to be drawn like Jim Brown. I saw that. That jumped out at me. I'm like, "What's Jim Brown?" Wait, that's Gabe Jones. Looks like Jim Brown.
Artist interpretation.
Exactly. But I thought that was a nice little Easter egg there.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it is what it is. Like, we already know this book has been canceled, so I think it's going to make it to 6.
Yes, it's going to complete 6 issues for
so we will see how this ends up, and whether the next one is actually going to be either one of the next two are going to actually tie into Secret Empire or not, or they just got their own side thing that just so happened to deal with Hydra.
Alrighty. Is that all you read this week, Roddy?
No, I've got one more. I'll go ahead and get out of the way. Why not? Titus 12.
I'm mad I didn't get to this.
I was going to say you didn't miss anything, but that would be kind of a lie, actually. Because the way it started off, it would seem like you would have missed it. Because basically, it's without giving too much away, there's a conversation within, because there's still, which you find out somewhere in the course of the issue, or if you've been keeping up, you find out, that's distracting. There was a meeting between Omen and Simon, who's in jail for reasons that have come out in the last couple of issues prior to Lazarus' contract. So this kind of goes back into the storyline that was already going on before that ended up happening. There is a nice little bit of subterfuge that if your mind was thinking about it, kind of takes you back to a certain Avengers movie and a certain conversation between two people. And then we found out that there's some division in the, or there's a little bit of breaking in the Titans organization, and there's also something ominous going on within the team that somebody found something out about. And we found out that something may or may not be what it seems in the course of all of that. And that's when the book kind of just ends. So I guess that's going to come out next issue or two. So it was a decent read. Usually Titans is a pretty quick read for me, but this one had a little bit more meat to it, even in the conversation, because it basically read like and obviously a filler arc type of TV show or a clip show, because it kept referencing stuff that happened in the past but never was actually shown in the more specifically the recent past. But it felt like a clip show in that if we had actually seen that stuff, then it just kind of goes into the rest of it and picks up a little bit.
And Kenneth Rocafort returns to the Titans, right?
Yes.
Oh, jealous. I wish he was still on.
What's that?
I wish Rocafort was still on Ultimates.
I do too.
Yeah.
I mean, dude on it now is doing all right, but yeah, I totally miss Rocafort on Ultimates.
All right. So I guess we can go into. I have one more book. Turt, do you have any other books you want to do in depth?
In depth.
What I was going to mention is Amazing Spider-Man Renew Your Vows, because I know you reviewed this for Graham Comic Reviews on Instagram.
Where's that dollar?
Plug.
I'll do it. So follow PCN_dirt at Graham Comic Reviews for the latest comic book reviews in Instagram form. So I read this issue based off of PCN_dirt's review on Graham Comic Reviews, and I was not disappointed. It's kind of tough for me to stick with this issue, stick with this book, because it is the alternate storyline or alternate universe where Peter and Mary Jane remain married and actually have their kid with spider powers. That's not spoiling anything. We're 8 issues in, people. So in this issue, Spidey and his wife Spinneret, they gotta get her a better code name, are taking on Mysterio, and they have their issues with that. But in the midst of this issue, we're introduced to one of the seminal 90s. Late 80s and 90s Spider-Man stories, but with the twist that it is now, spoiler alert, Spinneret, who is beset with a certain black costume that is kind of alive.
Well, the cover really gives it away. I don't know how much spoiler you're going to give people when it's all right there.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess there's always misleading covers that like a Bendis book, but
right, and also because the month of Mary Jane covers, you never know.
Yeah, but yeah, this is true. The cover is true to form.
Right.
She's given the symbiote, and it really comes from a place where she has a hard time keeping up. She uses an augmented suit that gives her powers instead of coming by them, quote unquote, naturally, like Peter and their daughter do. So, so she's looking for something to help, and she finds help in the form of an Osborn, which is never a good thing in the Spider-Man mythos.
Of course.
And she's given a symbiote suit, and it's, we're only half an issue that she has it, but already it's pretty clear. Everybody knows where it's going, so they don't beat around the bush too much. But it's just so much fun to see how they play with the established tropes, how they mix things up. They're not afraid to do things very differently in this continuity. But at the same time, it's always centered around the family. And so, like I said, even though we know that there's some bad stuff coming, it's coming from really a good place where she wants to be more helpful and be a little more independent, not for her own pride, but just for the sake that she doesn't want to have to bother Peter as much. When stuff is happening, so he can have a little bit of a break. And of course, it's coming back to bite her in the butt. So it's just, like I said, it's fun the way that they play with that stuff. It's a really well done story. One of the things I said on Instagram, I'll repeat it here, is that I often wish that this was the true Spidey book. Like, this is what I want Spider-Man books to be like. I love this universe. I love the fact that they're still together. I love that they built a family. It's not something that you get often in comics these days. So it's nice when there's a family you can follow along with, and everybody gets, everybody gets some TV time, so to speak. So
screen time, yeah.
So it's a good book. I like it. I recommend it. Especially if you've got someone younger. Spidey didn't last, unfortunately, but it looks like this one's got some more legs to it. So it's all ages, only in the sense that more than just kids can enjoy it. The kids can enjoy it, but the adults can enjoy it. So don't take the idea that it's all ages to mean that it's somehow simple or easy, or it's below your level. I think everybody should try this book. It's fantastic.
Cool. I definitely appreciated the advice this week.
All right. Well, there's your plug, everybody.
There you go.
Check out Graham Comic Reviews that I almost abandoned, but instead I gave it new life with a new outlook. So there you go.
Reinvigorated.
Until it dies.
All right. So, Dirt, if you have any other books that you want to do in depth, now's the time, because I'm about to go into rapid fire.
No, everything I do, I can do pretty quick.
Rapid fire time! All right. So let me run through some books real quick to give PCN_Dirt a breather. Captain America, Sam Wilson, number 23, details the what Sam Wilson has been doing some more once he gave up the mantle of Captain America and decided to become a smuggler. Ultimately, he's running his own version of the Underground Railroad, literally, between the United States and Canada to help those persecuted by Hydra America. Help them escape to Canada, people like Inhumans and mutants and people who just want to escape. So this ties into what is happening in Secret Empire numbers 3 and 4, but it is not necessary to read this to have to understand what's going on in those two main storyline issues. It's just some peripheral stuff. The Mole Man shows up out of all people. So it's pretty weird, but it's one of those tie-in issues. Ms. Marvel number 19, a powerful issue because it deals a lot. It deals so much with Kamala Khan's family as they observe one of the bigger holidays in the Muslim tradition, and we also have the return of some characters from recent crossovers. So
Yes.
It's a different.
That part, I didn't get to read it, but I saw that part.
Yeah, like I didn't want to spoil it too much, but we do have the return
Yeah.
of that character, and that is leading into the next phase of the storyline. This is the first issue in a new arc, so this is definitely a strong start to the upcoming story. And I wanted to mention Uncanny Avengers number 24. It's another Secret Empire tie-in. The tie-in portion of the story is weak. It basically details the Uncanny Avengers dealing with the Dark Force dome that is in Manhattan that has been put up as part of Hydra Cap's plot in Secret Empire. But the strongest part of this book was the art by Kim Jacinto. It was I was literally, no pun intended, marveling at the art, and I just kind of stared at it as I was flipping pages. And I've mentioned it on the show recently that I have dropped this book from my physical pull list. I don't know if this is enough for me to put it back on, because I really don't care to follow the stories of the characters that are remaining in this team-up book. It's a myriad mix, it's a hodgepodge of Inhumans and X-Men and Avengers, and it's not as enticing to me as some of the other team books that are out there right now. However, the art on this is strong, and if you're looking for some very clean and sharp superhero art, I would recommend taking a look at this book. And finally, for my last rapid fire book, it's Vision Director's Cut number 1. Now, we were joking earlier about off the air about spoiling a book we all read a year ago, but what I wanted to mention for our listeners and viewers is that if you're new to our show, or if you're new to the idea of a Vision limited series, you got to go out and pick this up. Pick up the Director's Cut if you don't want to go out and get the back issues, or get it on Marvel Unlimited, or get it was just on sale on Amazon and Comixology. I picked that up, and I still, owning the original issues, having the trade paperbacks through Comixology, I still bought 2 copies of the Director's Cut. I got the shiny cover, and I got the Scotty Young alternate cover because it was cool. I'd hold it up, but my hands are full right now. But thank you very much. So PCN_Dirt is taking care of the main cover, and Roddy Cat is taking care of the Scotty Young cover. And they're holding them up now. They're posting them up now for our viewers online and in the future on YouTube. What I wanted to mention very quickly is that this is a director's cut, so we have some behind-the-scenes looks at the construction of this book and the development of this book, and I wanted to point people specifically to the elevator pitch that Tom King proposed to Marvel in order to get this series approved. So all that in a nutshell is maybe a paragraph and a half, maybe 2 paragraphs total, and it's a true elevator pitch, and it reads like something that any editor would approve in a heartbeat. And that is, phenomenal stuff. And if anyone is looking to pitch a new series or story idea to an editor, I would suggest that you take a look at the pitch that's in this book and go from there. Use that as just one example of how to pitch a story to an editor.
Okay.
And that's done, and that's my rapid fire.
All right.
Yeah.
Vision was definitely. Everybody else hearing an echo?
Just from you.
Like I'm hearing an echo of me coming back. All right, it's gone. Weird. Okay. I'll do a couple here real quick. Weapon X, number 4. This is part of the prelude of Weapons of Mutant Destruction. We finally figure out who the main bad guy is, who's behind everything.
And he's lame.
Oh my gosh, this is a character. He was a pivotal character in the story 30 years ago, and then he died, and then they brought him back, and then he died, and then they cloned him or something, and then he died, and now he's back again. and it just took all the wind out of the story.
All the lameness.
Oh my god! Like I was actually kind of getting into it, even though I thought the Totally Awesome Hulk comes across as really annoying sometimes. I was still going to go with it, but this, knowing that they've gone back to the well to this guy, just makes me just like I don't even know anymore if I'm going to follow through on this. So anyway, just took all the wind out. But Old Man Logan does redeem himself in his main title, Old Man Logan 25. This is with new writer Ed Brisson, and Mike Deodato is picking up the art. I'm not a huge fan of the art. It always looks to me like he's using computer-generated models and sketching on top of them. It just always looks a little funky as far as that goes. But the story...
But it's not Greg Land.
Well, it's not Greg Land, that's true. He uses a different type of picture, though, to draw on top of. But
be thankful for small favors.
I didn't think anybody could follow up Lemire's run on this, because Lemire did such a fantastic job. But Brisson, he decides to keep a similar theme, but put his own spin on it, shoot it off in a different direction. And punch you in the face with a story, and it is it's incredible. I'm really blown away by how creative it was, using what we know about Old Man Logan's lore and continuing up on that. So I at one point had considered maybe dropping this title once the new writer came in, but not now. It's good enough that I'm sticking with it, definitely. Let's see. We had Star Wars 32. That came out this week. The next part of the Screaming Citadel. I'm a little disappointed that it's space vampires is what this story basically comes down to. I will say this much, though, that as much as they'll put some fun action-packed stuff in there and play around with some of the characters, you just know that Han Solo is not going to die. You know that Luke Skywalker is not going to die. So when they put him in these moments of peril, I'm just, kind of rolling my eyes as I go through these scenes. It's like, all right.
You got to roll with it.
It's like, it's not going to stick. If they would play more with some of the secondary characters that appear only in the comics and have never appeared in the movies, so there's a pretty good chance that they don't survive much longer, I'd be, I think, a little more into it. But there's only one part of the storyline left, so we'll see how they stake the vampires through the heart and move on. But yeah, at the end of it, it's a story that exists and it's there and it's okay, but I just don't feel like it's going to do much in the long run.
Yeah, the space vampires kind of threw me off of it, but I'm still going to read it.
Yeah, well, you kind of feel like you have to after you read the first couple, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Action Comics 981, the Superman Revenge Squad stuff. It's okay. I've talked before. I haven't exactly been blown away by it. But in the midst of everything that's going on, Dan Jurgens decides to throw something else at Superman completely out of left field, which it's one of those things that gets revealed at the end of the book, and you go, wait a minute, what? And then you have to go back and read through, and when you read through the issue, it makes sense. You don't see it while you're reading it, but then once you know it at the end and go back, then it obviously stands out. And you're like, oh, well, now so much of the stuff makes a lot more sense. So he's having fun with the book. Jurgens is having fun writing this book, playing around with the character and everything. It's a lot of fun. I definitely do, for the most part, enjoy action more than the other Superman book. So they have their ups and downs and they go back and forth, but this one, what he throws at them is a lot of fun. Obviously it's another thing that's not going to stick, but it's something to have fun with them while they're there. I want to talk about two books that probably no one has ever heard of before. You might remember Solar Flare. I talked about issue 1 back when it came out. I missed out on 2. I had to get a copy of 2 and read 2 and 3 here. Read them back to back today. But basically, it's a post-apocalyptic story where a massive solar flare has killed all electronics on Earth. random fires have broken out. You don't really know how bad Earth really is yet, how terrible things are, but of course that doesn't stop the worst of humanity from going out and trying to take advantage of the situation. So it's dealt with in the same way you would, your basic zombie movie, except you're not running from zombies, you're running from other people during, this horrible, terrible crisis that's going on. And because it's this massive solar flare and everything's, going terrible, it's like this weird Twilight era, this Aurora Borealis type thing over the entire world as it's messing with the atmosphere and everything. So it makes for this weird look. The art definitely has a style all its own. He uses a lot of like he takes photographs of backgrounds and then runs them through some filters on the computer and then draws the people on top of them, and it actually works. It feels like you'd think about it and you think it really shouldn't work, but it does. The way his line work works with those photos, it's actually pretty cool how it all comes together. So Scout Comics, nobody listening to this has ever heard of Scout Comics, probably never heard of Solar Flare, but it's definitely worth taking a look at. I enjoy these post-apocalyptic stories, so this is another one to add to the list, and it's pretty good, so I recommend that. And then finally, this one blows me away. This is one of the $1.50 books. It's called Trespasser. It's from Alterna Comics. It is the story of a father and daughter who are living out on a farm. Something bad has happened to the world. You don't really know. Again, it's some sort of post-apocalyptic, but it doesn't make clear, probably not zombies, but it's something economic or terrorism or something. So they're just living on their own, and an alien just happens to crash or come visiting or whatever and ends up out on their farm and gets injured. And he, brings them home to try to figure out what's going on. And the story, you get this sense that, it's a father. He would do anything to protect his daughter. So you're not quite sure how safe it is for this alien guy who's going to be there. He seems like a nice enough guy, but could the paranoia get the better of him? How bad really is the world that they live in? Why is this alien here? All this type of stuff as you're reading through it. And then it gets to the end of the issue. And I got to say that when I flipped to the final page, it hit me like a punch to the gut. Like it was an ending that came out of nowhere. Again, it makes perfect sense. I'm sure it makes perfect sense in the long run of the story. When you think about it, it works. But oh my gosh, it was one of those things where I couldn't believe I had just read what I read in this book. And this story, I believe, actually came out digitally a year or so ago, and this is the first time it's been in print. So this is the first opportunity I've had to read the story, and I'm really fighting myself. I'm debating, am I going to go buy the digital ones and read ahead, or am I going to stick with the paper ones as they come out? Because this is from Alterna. This is part of their new line. It's $1.50. It's printed on newsprint. So it has that old comic smell to it, if you remember the comic shops of the 80s. It has that feel to it on the paper. It looks really nice. Like I'm really impressed with all the books that I've read in their $1.50 newsprint line. All of the books are really high quality. I'm surprised at how good printing on newsprint actually looks. And it's one of these things where it's like proof of concept. I wish that Marvel and DC, you're going to have your Batmans and your Supermans, and they're going to be your $3.99 comics that come out every month. But if they would take some of the secondary characters and throw them on the newsprint paper and sell them for $1.50, you could get Firestorms and Blue Beetles and, whatevers that might last, 30, 40, 50 issues instead of burning out after 6. Because, with the cheaper price.
Print quality.
Yeah, but it looks so. I'm just amazed at how good they can get it to look nowadays on that old school newsprint. So Alterna's really done a great job with with pushing this $1.50 line. We love it at the store because it's cheap enough that people buying their comics, you can be like, oh yeah, this was really good, and they'll go, well, for $1.50, I'll check it out. And we've been able to sell quite a few of them. So as a retailer, I like it, but as a comic geek aficionado, I like it. But as a reader, like I said, the last page just totally blew me away. And as much as I never would have thought this a couple days ago before comics showed up. But having read through all the stuff, Trespasser #1 is in fact my click of the week.
Wow.
It's one of those things where I actually, as soon as I got done with it, I had to set it down and walk away from it. Then I picked it back up and I started flipping through it backwards to retrace parts of the story. And then I just started at the beginning and read the entire issue through again.
Wow.
It is really, really good.
Impressive.
And Justin Ryan is the writer. I have no idea who he is or what else he's done, but I'm going to be Googling the name later. Christian Rossi is doing the artwork. DC Hopkins, I think, is the colorist. And it feels like this is a top shelf product. This does not feel like an alternate, indie press book. Yeah, this could have been the Image Spotlight book in the Diamond Previews catalog. The story is fantastic. So this may end up being one of those books where, these guys go on to bigger, better stuff, and this little $1.50 newsprint book is the one that ends up going for big bucks later on down the line as people discover them. But this gets one of my highest recommendations. Like some of the others where I say you definitely have to read it. This is one of those you definitely have to read it. This book is fantastic.
Nice. All right, so I guess we're running right into Click of the Week zone. So so PCN_Dirt has given us his Click of the Week, and I guess I will surprise everyone on the panel by picking a DC book.
Whoa.
Dark Days, The Forge, #1, my Click of the Week this week.
Yeah, and actually, before I read Trespasser, I think this probably would have been mine as well.
Dark Days is what I would go with also.
Whoa!
But not Roddy. Roddy's got to break the streak.
That's right. Probably partially also because I haven't read it. But even if I had, I probably still wouldn't. Because I'm going to go with, I have so many books to choose from. Black Panther and the Crew #3.
Nice.
Because, as what I forgot to mention earlier, for King, T'Challa has missed out on some things, including finding out about Frank Ocean. Which
yes, I saw that.
not only brings up, but ends up singing a little bit of during the course of this issue, which was out of nowhere. But yeah.
All righty. Okay, so before we transition over,
before you make your
that one.
Yeah, before you make your ad, I think Sim's going to make with his leaving.
All righty.
But speaking of, I will say, I just got an email for something embargoed until 9 a.m. tomorrow. So check theclicknation.com at 9 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow to see some news from a publisher that we discussed tonight.
Exclusive.
Ooh.
Yes. It's interesting. But see y'all at 9 a.m. tomorrow.
All right, we'll see.
Alrighty. Peace out.
Guys.
All righty. So we're going to transition again. I'm going to play this particular transition for a very good reason. So our first ad of the night is for Busted Tees. This episode of the Click Nation's Comic Book Chronicles is sponsored by Busted Tees, your home for funny, awesome, cool t-shirts that are sure to get your friends' attention. Busted Tees puts many of their popular shirt designs on sale each week. Choose from several eye-catching t-shirts inspired by pop culture, cleverly themed TV shirts inspired by movies, video games, TV shows, comic books, and geek culture, and much more are on sale. To help keep our podcast free, order from Busted Tees by going to cspn.us. That's cspn.us. Then click on the Keep Our Podcast Free link. Click on the Busted Tees banner and then shop for awesome t-shirts. Busted Tees through cspn.us. Do it today.
Yes. Now we go into our cinematic news, where if I had my normal setup, I could do this a whole lot faster than what, but we're gonna run through this. We're gonna work this out. And sadly, the first couple of bits of news have to do with a couple of passings that we have had, and the first one being Glenn Headley of Dick Tracy and Mr. Holland's Opus dies at 63.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. Tess Drew Hart, I believe that was her name in Dick Tracy.
I think so.
I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes and move on, and be very surprised that I remember that. And second bit of news: Adam West, TV's Batman, dies at 88.
Yeah, that one was kind of a shock because most people, the majority of people, did not realize that he was A, 88 years old, and B, had recently been diagnosed with leukemia and had been battling that in his most recently.
Right. Yeah, definitely didn't know the last part. First part I did know. So this was like, and the thing what also stuck out about it was that well, we'll get to that in a couple of stories, but it happened amongst some other news that happened, but it was certainly sad. And there was a lot of outpouring of, there was a lot of sadness and a lot of people well wishes, like people do on Twitter,
Twitter, Facebook, all over social media, their tributes to Adam West and the old Batman 1966 series.
I actually, when I saw that, and this is terrible, but I went out and not only bought the TV show, which I had planned to do anyway, but also bought the 66 movie. Right when I heard that.
I'm tempted to see if there's any 66 Batman action figures left at Toys R Us. I haven't gone since his passing.
Yeah, and you kind of hate that you do that when stuff like that happens, because it was like, well, clearly, we weren't thinking about this stuff, while this person was alive, but sometimes it doesn't happen that way.
Sure. So
moving right along, so we did find out that Adam West completed, which we already knew about this, but I guess since his passing, this is why this came up as being news again, and that was Adam West completed one last Batman movie. We knew that he and Burt Ward were working on an animated movie of Batman and Robin, the 66 version, I believe, and and that is still coming. Apparently, he must have finished it.
Right.
Yeah.
Completed his work on that, so that should be released in its entirety.
It doesn't say when, I don't believe. Oh no, it's out now actually. That's weird. Didn't hear about that part.
All right,
so that's out. Go check that out. Yeah. Next, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, next up we have in other news. This is the last bit of Adam West news. The bat signal will be lit over Los Angeles in honor of Adam West. Which the ceremony has already happened. Actually, 7:30. So it would have actually it just passed. Well, it's already passed.
I was going to say it's probably going on right now.
Yeah, kind of.
Literally 3 hours from the Eastern time. So
right. So there's a ceremony that is being conducted right now, at Los Angeles City Hall. I guess the police chief is there, and a bunch of other people are there, and they are going to light the bat signal for an undisclosed time, as this article says.
That works.
So if there's some video out there about it, which I'm sure there will be at some point, check that out.
All right. So the next bit of news, I know you're jazzed about this, so I won't step all over. I will let you take a lot of this. The new trailer, the first teaser trailer and poster for the Marvel Black Panther movie dropped during the NBA Finals, and it was pretty fun. And the very first scene is literally going to draw people in, anyone who remembers these two characters, Ulysses Claw and Martin Ross from Captain America: Civil War, or Everett Ross. I'm sorry, Everett Ross.
Yeah, Everett Ross. Yes, right.
So because I think I was thinking of Martin Freeman, the actor, but
he plays. Yeah.
Right. So once you see that, you know we're directly jumping from Civil War into at least part of the story that's going to take place in the Black Panther movie.
Yeah, it was. I personally, obviously, I'm slightly biased because I haven't been, anticipating this movie, but it actually was a pretty good teaser trailer. It didn't seem like it was giving a whole heck of a lot away, which sometimes movies have been tending to do lately. And the movie's still a little ways out, like it's next year, but that's a year off at this point, I would, at the very least. So there was that, and there was a lot of rumblings about the poster that came along like right before, because that day, I believe, that gave way to the teaser trailer. There was a poster that came out that there were various
some were not right. Some folks online were not happy with what looked like a very rough Photoshop job.
And I can kind of sort of see their complaints, but at the same time, and then something came out like shortly after that saying, well, look, here's some significance in this shot, regardless of, and well, not even regardless of that, because the person who did this, who said this, was apparently I overlooked it. So there was some significance in the picture that was on the poster, and it was pretty steeped in history, and it was pretty dope. So, but yeah, the teaser trailer was great, and I guess our next bit of news after that, I'll just skip ahead to this one, and then come back to it. In that the teaser trailer grabs 89 million views in the first 24 hours, and I know I am responsible for at least 10 of those, like actually 10 of those.
All right.
I mean, there was people like doing like 5 runs at a time, or at least so they say. You know how people were like, I'm going to watch this like 50, 11 times, blah, blah, blah. And maybe they did because, And of course, there were the people that were actually going through it a few different times because they were making their videos or their reaction videos or whatever the case may be.
Or memes. Or memes.
Or memes, or and just trying to piece it apart, because obviously, when a teaser trailer like this comes out, you got to pick it apart so that you can find out what bits and pieces of the movie is going to come out in, and blah, blah, blah. So there was a lot of that going on. So I'm pretty sure a lot of that's responsible for the views outside and inside of being a highly anticipated movie. Right. And given that Marvel's Black Panther releases new synopsis, we won't go to it.
Yeah, don't go into that. No spoilers.
Yeah. But basically, there's an
I totally did not read that news story. I just went right by. So
I kind of didn't read it either, but it was like, well, I was like, okay. Then when it got to the part where it said, well, here it is, and then I was like, all right, I'm going to stop now. But you kind of can't help it, especially if you're doing the news kind of stuff. So
all right. So moving on, we have. There's an article out there where James Gunn, who is always active on social media and is still promoting the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 movie, which is awesome, by the way. He's out there not only promoting it, but also dropping tidbits. And there's a story out there about how he explains how Yondu's arrow works. So feel free to check out our show notes and follow the link to that article. There's also an article out about how Sebastian Stan, aka James Buchanan Barnes, is pumping up literally to get ready for his role in Avengers: Infinity War. And speaking of Infinity War, one Michonne, aka Denai Guerrera, has been confirmed for Avengers: Infinity War.
Yes. So basically, everybody, it just keeps going. It's like, well, shoot, everybody who's in the last couple of movies are pretty much going to be
Pretty much.
It's going to be. I'm still waiting for our ticket to that show because surely we're going to be in, even though we haven't been in any Avengers.
Of course.
So far. Clearly, our casting is coming.
Right. So Fox can go jump in a lake because they are casting X-Men Dark Phoenix. And
Rumors.
And the rumors are that they're going after some A-list acting talent, namely Angelina Jolie and Jessica Chastain.
That was really more of a surprise than the Chastain one, because I mean, obviously, we hadn't really. I mean, I know Angelina Jolie's kind of been doing some stuff every now and then, but not a whole lot. At least in front of the camera, I think I don't even know what the hell she's doing right now. But I'm like, wow, that came up from out of nowhere.
I mean, in terms of genre stuff, what has she really done other than Tomb Raider?
Wanted.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about Wanted.
Tomb Raider, yeah, Tomb Raider Wanted. I think that's about it. Yeah,
that's pretty much it in terms of the comic genre stuff. So, but obviously Fox is going to try to make a splash with these movies because God forbid they lose their license to them. Speaking of Fox's X-Men license, New Mutants casting there's rumors out about Young Magic and Karma being cast. Or they're looking for they're actually casting now. They're looking for young actresses to take up these roles.
Mm-hmm. And going back to better Marvel movies, potentially better Marvel movies, we still don't know. But Tom Holland confirms Spider-Man: Homecoming is the first in a trilogy.
All right.
One would say this was not a surprise, but at the same time, given how they've been doing Spider-Man movies, the last trilogy was the Tobey Maguire ones.
Mm-hmm. Right, because they couldn't fathom making a third Andrew Garfield Spidey, unfortunately.
Right, and we can get into all that hubbub in a whole different time.
Right. So, Avengers 4, Captain Marvel, and Ant-Man 2 filming schedule revealed, and the Flash movie can't get a director. Sorry, DC. I took a shot. Shots fired, DC.
They have kind of run through a few different ones, haven't they?
You heard that? Shots fired. So, there is a kick-ass Wonder Woman poster you can buy now. That is, I guess, was part of the movie launch last week. Spoiler alert and apologies. I still have not watched the Wonder Woman movie. I'm hoping to catch it this coming week, but that's what I said last week.
It's pretty good. It's worth going to the theater for, I would say.
Sounds good.
Even though whatever, anyway, but that's another time also. Batman the Animated Series producer Alan Burnett retires.
He's had a long career in animation for Warner Brothers properties.
Mm-hmm.
So, congratulations to him. Hopefully he can enjoy retirement.
Indeed.
So Armie Hammer is open to playing Shazam. Okay.
No. You mean Shazam the app on your phone?
Oh,
right.
No.
All right. Sure, he can do that.
Wait, wasn't Shazam a movie with Shaq where he played a genie?
That was Shazam.
That keeps coming up. Shazam. Yeah. I don't know. I can't see the Lone Ranger being Shazam.
All right.
Actually, I haven't even seen that Man from Uncle movie either, but whatever. Anyway.
Speaking of DC.
Yes. Batman and Spider-Man composer Danny Elfman will now score Justice League. So it'll be like, dun, dun, dun. Oh, okay,
well. You skipped one, which is also DC, which is Family will be the central theme to Aquaman. So I'm really hoping that they can pull off an Aquaman movie.
You know what Family was also the central theme of?
The Fast and Furious.
Think about it.
All right. So, no way. Legends of Tomorrow adds Billy Zane as P.T. Barnum for a time travel arc. Okay.
I know, right? Wait, didn't Billy Zane play the Phantom, or am I thinking of somebody else?
Yes, you're absolutely right.
Okay. So maybe he'll Oh, wait,
Absolutely.
the Phantom's not even a DC property. Never mind.
Yeah.
Damn it.
So Legends
of Tomorrow season 3, bringing back fiction. Good.
Okay.
Although I heard something about the end of this last season that made me scratch my head about that, but okay, sure.
Rumor of the day: Justice League reshoots to feature more Wonder Woman.
Because
right, because she is the cash draw.
I mean, I would say Marvel should really take notes, but it's not the same thing as having a couple of books that you cancel when you have a high demand character pulling some numbers on a thing they did. But anyway, not bitter or anything.
No, not even a little. Apparently,
X-Men Dark Phoenix sets its main cast and creative team with one big addition. So, well, I would say a little behind the scenes of some of the stuff. Usually a lot of the stuff I would put in order, and this would have still been in the order that it should have been. But apparently they've come down on the actress of choice that we talked about a little bit ago, and that's being Jessica Chastain. And I can't say why that would be a surprise, because it's not. And she's playing Lilandra. So, because it's Dark Phoenix, and you got to have it.
All right, so
sure.
I'm going to ring the cash register because of the next story, which is the actual Luke Skywalker lightsaber from Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back is up for auction. People. Break open those piggy banks.
Exactly. Which is weird because
cash in your 401k.
Halfway there. So I don't know if you guys have heard, and this is not in the news, but there was the guy that has all the Star Wars memorabilia. It has the biggest collection of Star Wars memorabilia. Got stolen from. So when I saw this, I was like, well, wait, was this a part of that? And somebody's just brazen enough to just restore it, but apparently this was a separate thing.
Yeah, no, I was about to say this kind of promotion behind the auction. I doubt that this would be promoting an auction for a piece of stolen property.
Right.
So,
all right, next up, DuckTales. Woo! Reboot introduces the return of old characters and a new one. So apparently, and I guess we should have seen this coming because Gyro is going to be a part of the show. Gyro is the person responsible for Gizmo Duck. So that makes a hell of a whole lot of sense. Also, the Beagle Boys will be back. So I think pretty much the gang's all here. I think. Wait, did they cast Mrs. Beakley? Because I don't remember.
I don't know. But soon.
Actually, wait. It says here. So Ma Beagle, the Beagle Boys, blah 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 blah. Allison Janney is played because so this is some stuff in here that actually we didn't know about. So Allison Janney will be playing Scrooge's old love interest, Goldie O'Gilt.
Allison Janney? You mean C.J. Craig from The West Wing?
The very same. Let's see. Gladstone Gander, a longtime nemesis of Donald Duck's, will be played by Paul F. Tompkins. And a new character named Mark Beeks, who is a young billionaire who will be played by Silicon Valley star Josh Brenner.
All right.
So they're getting some names, except for the last one that I don't know anything of. But yeah,
well, somebody new from a hot show that's still gaining some traction.
So some heavy hitters. I mean, there's probably no doubt that this is not going to get any numbers because it's going to hit the nostalgia people and new people. But I'm interested.
So
this shouldn't be here, but never mind. Just keep rolling with it.
Which one? The
next one.
Pro poster and the air date?
Oh no, not that one. The one after that.
Oh, spoiler alert!
Yeah, well, that was fine. So yeah, along with that news, we got the new Ductra and Drill poster and air date, which is the air date is August 18th, because they're releasing it on Disney XD. Yes.
Right.
And then on
September 20th.
then on September 23rd, they're going with the regular set of shows.
The continuing episodes.
Right.
All right. So what Roddy Cat was referring to earlier, and the reason why I rang the spoiler bell, is that apparently there's some news that the novelization of Spider-Man Homecoming contains information about the character that Donald Glover plays in the movie. We will not discuss this now because it will become very apparent very soon. We are less than a month away.
Mm-hmm.
So let's not jump the gun on these. Let's see. So we can skip this one.
No.
Which one? The Guillermo del Toro one?
Yeah.
All right. It says he talks creative freedom with Netflix and the future of Hellboy. There's an article.
I mean, granted, I just wanted to see Dirt's face on this one. It's tortured him, but since he's not showing his face, it doesn't matter. But no, they talked to Guillermo del Toro about a bunch of stuff, and he just kind of had a little blurb on Hellboy, and saying he doesn't own it. It's Mike Mignola's, and that's his to get. If he wants to reboot it, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Godspeed and good bless.
All right. So I'm going to break out a new sound effect that one Roddy Cat loaded up for the next bit of news.
Hey, boo!
One Statler and Waldorf. Boo from the.
I knew that was going to come in handy.
The next story that we have in our last story in cinematic news is Sony's Venom movie is set to begin filming in September. Again.
Hey, boo! It was awful. I was terrible. Get him away!
Yeah.
Well, we don't know if it's going to be awful, but
yeah, we don't know this yet, Statler Waldorf. But I'm breaking out that new stuff for this news because boo hiss.
Yeah.
Alrighty. And
now we're on to comic news.
Yeah, we're on to the comic news.
And you hit this first one, and I get the next couple.
All right. So there's a fresh peek inside Mark Wahlberg's Alien Bounty Hunter comic. Whoop-de-doo, good for him.
I still don't know why he's doing it. He's got enough of a name to where
his movie.
Well, there's that, but I'm like, he has still enough of a name to where he doesn't have to go this route to get a movie made. Because it's basically, as we have reported on before, he is doing this comic so that he can
create a new franchise
that he can make movies off of.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Anyway,
in the video gaming corner, so we just had E3. Technically, I guess this was the last day, but regardless, it's a little bit of E3 news coming out as we have. As of last week, we had all the press conferences and stuff like that. If you're a video gamer and
video gamer.
Yes, if you are a gamer and then you probably were already watching E3 and you know about this stuff already. But if you are a gamer and you haven't, and you like comics, hey, welcome to this block. Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite Story Mode demo. It is out for the PS4 and the Xbox One. You can go check it out on either one of those platforms. I have played it. It's it's good. I mean, it gives you a little taste of what's going to happen, which if you know about Marvel vs. Capcom, you kind of have a sense of it. But they've kind of into some stuff. Also, there was a trailer that came out that showed some new characters. Actually, and also if you play the demo, you can also see a glimpse of these new characters because there are a bunch of people show up in said demo, story mode demo, for as short as it is. Also, this was pretty much the best news of that night, or at least one of them. From the Sunday press conference, there was some gameplay shown of Spider-Man from the Spider-Man game for the PS4 that is coming out. To be specific, it's about like a good 9 minutes of. So we get to see a good bit of, Spidey doing whatever Spidey can. It kind of looks like Batman Arkham Asylum. That's not a bad thing.
Look, I was about to say.
Or actually, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that because this has been said before, and that needs to be corrected. Because actually, the last couple of Spider-Man before Arkham Asylum came out had combat like that before Arkham Asylum.
Right.
So,
it's more what it is. It's a more refined system. That's all. You know, they've all kind of piggybacked on this, stealthy targeting system and multiple targets at once to try to do a melee attack. So,
right. And it makes sense for Spider-Man because because at least he has that sense of when an attack is coming, he can move out of the way and sense it and be able to do all of that as a la Batman or whatever. But because he's got Spidey sense, regardless.
Right. And an interesting tidbit coming out of this was that the next story is about this game incorporating some of the more recent canon from the Amazing Spider-Man series, because the game incorporates Mr. Negative into the story, and that's pretty cool. Martin Lee, who was running a charity in New York City that turned out to be a front for underworld activities.
And if you watch the gameplay footage, they actually even talk about all of that.
Right, it's part of this game now, and that's pretty cool.
Oh, and not only that, but if you watch the gameplay, so that is in there. We have Yukio Watanabe, aka the Wraith.
More recent stuff, yep.
And my favorite part of this, which I don't know what part he's going to play in it, but at the very end of that, because we already know which Spider-Man is going to be. It's Peter, because they even in the course of the gameplay, he calls his own name out. So there you go. But at the end of the gameplay, we see one Miles Morales in the crowd. At the end of the gameplay, so we don't know in what capacity he is going to be in the game. He could very well be DLC, or he could be another part of the story. I don't know. Right.
And leading into the next story on this, kind of playing into the previous story on this and kind of glossed past it, is that when you mentioned DLC, one of the things that was striking to the people, about the first news and images from this game is that the costume has a pretty drastic difference to the classic red and blues. And one thing about that is, I guess people, and I think their hopes will be answered, that DLC will provide skins for Spider-Man so that you will have the particular costume that you want to be swinging around the city in available to download and implement. So hopefully you'll have Miles's costume, and hopefully Miles is going to be a playable character. Like we'll have some sort of storyline in this too, but we will see.
Yeah, we definitely will. And and there's that other story about the new emblem has a purpose apparently, and I'm thinking, okay, it's just basically a big spider symbol light. I don't know that for certain, but I'm like that could I can't possibly imagine what other use that would be. But there's actually one other thing to note about watching the gameplay. There is some movie type beats that are kind of going into it, more specifically with the spider tech. Because you see, like, if you've watched like the previous trailer for Spider-Man Homecoming, there was some of the tech that's been shown off, and there's a little bit of it that's actually being shown off in this game also, like directly. So it's like that's interesting. So they're kind of playing,
melding the two, yeah.
They're playing a little bit in the comic and a little bit of the cinematic, and that.
All right.
So moving right along, that was the video game block for this portion of the show. And the next up is James Galton, former Marvel Entertainment president, dies at 92.
All right, rest in peace. He looks like he had 16 years at Marvel between 75 and 91. Right before the speculator craze, suspicious enough. All right. So we talked about this a little bit earlier. More shocking secrets in Secret Empire. Transformers, Mask, and ROM titles for IDW Hasbro's First Strike crossover. The regular show gets Raw and Wrestlers Explosion. So that's some wrestling stuff for you. 2017, Russ Manning promising newcomer award nominees. So I guess that is an award that is going to be given out at Comic-Con San Diego.
Yeah, I've never heard of this one, and
It might
never
be
any of
new.
these people. But yeah.
Alrighty, moving
Oh,
on.
actually, I take it back. Rafael Della Torre is doing Animosity. I haven't heard of that one.
Okay. Moving on. Star Wars Adventures, first storylines, creative teams revealed. So this is the IDW Star Wars
Yes.
Adventures. It's an all ages ongoing series. So I guess that is going to launch when? Do we have a date in here? Doesn't look like it.
Yeah,
September 6th.
September 20th.
September 6th. Star Wars Adventures #1. Scheduled for release on September 6th. So be on the lookout for that once the summer ends.
Oh, yeah. So it looks like it's bi-weekly then.
Right. Because number
Yeah,
2 is
because
expected to ship 2 weeks later.
Right, and it sounds like the first also finds out the first couple of issues are going to be Ray focused. So look out for that.
Greg Pak promises his Hulk's themed Generations one shot will matter. I hope it matters. So, that's the hope. DC Comics Bombshells returns with new series and Bombshells United. So I know that there are people who are fans of those I guess alternate takes on DC characters.
Yeah.
So
A little bit of it's all right. Yeah.
Boo hiss.
Yeah, this next one, which we already knew about it, but this
Right.
is weird that there was news about this, and that is Black Panther World of Wakanda writer confirms series is canceled, which I thought we already had confirmation out of that. But
I was gonna say I don't know if we had a confirmation or that it had just disappeared from solicits for a number of months in a row.
I think we had both actually.
So I don't, when I saw this in the news list, I wasn't sure if I remember hearing confirmation of it. So
Right, that's why I just put confirmation over confirmation in question mark, because I was like, I was kind of the same as you, but I felt kind of certain that we had that confirmation. But regardless, it is still a sad thing, and don't get me started. Marvel's newest universe declares war on Ewing's Ultimates. This was basically an interview with Al Ewing about what he's doing in Ultimates 2 and using the new universe characters and what he's going to put people through. So,
well, it's nice him incorporating, all these characters from across the universe. No pun intended. Definitely a Beatles reference. So next up, Big Trouble in Little China's loudmouth hero makes one last stand in new comic series Old Man Jack. All right.
So you wonder where they got that name from.
Yeah.
And it's being written by Anthony Birch, who has written video games such as Borderlands 2, and I think it's a one shot, if I'm not mistaken. So,
all right. Boom Studios sells a minority stake to Fox after recently. So I guess 20th Century Fox has acquired what has been described as a significant minority stake in Boom Studios, where the company has already had a first look feature film deal and a similar deal with Fox Television Studio.
So we talked about this prior to the show. What's that?
I said previously.
Right. And we were basically, it was like, okay, so as Dirt said, I don't know if he wanted to chime in on it, but he was basically saying, it was like, yeah, it's enough to want to see them prosper, but not enough to kind of, poke them into doing anything.
From what it sounds like, the significant minority share means that it's not enough that they have any sort of control over the studio, saying you have to publish this or you can't publish that, or whatever. But it's enough of a stake that they want the company to financially succeed because they're going to get profits off of that. So with their first look deal that they already have, apparently there's something in the pipes or something that they have their eye on that they think is going to be immensely profitable. That they think there's going to be some sort of synergy between them developing a property for television or movies and the comics. So it looks like they've seen enough now that they're buying a stake back in the company so that they can make sure that whatever they develop as a property for TV or movies, they're going to get profits back on the publishing end as well.
Yeah, and as I also said, it seems like just like the opening steps of them just coming and take it all over, just in general at some point, once they see that there's going to be something out of it, but we don't know. It might not be that at all. So good luck to Boom, I guess. I don't know. Last in our stories for tonight, Marvel's Generation series starts at the vanishing point. So
there was a DC series several years ago called Vanishing Point.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was where Wave Rider and Rip Hunter and the Time Masters were all hanging out. It seems really weird that, and maybe that term comes from somewhere else. Maybe that's a scientific term or something, but it just seems weird that Marvel's gravitating towards that.
Yeah. But we also get a look at the covers, what looks to be the covers for this generation stuff, and some good looking stuff as I'm scrolling through it and not sharing it. But
this is how they all come together with their previous incarnations and counterparts. And so, that's the start of that particular story point. So,
yeah.
Alrighty. So we've come to the end of our comic-related news. Does anyone have anything else to add before I read our last ad read of the night? Something for Toy for anybody? Open boxes?
I guess I could talk about this HeroesCon stuff real quick, but I was going to save that for after the ad.
All right.
So I'm at HeroesCon here in Charlotte. I'll go ahead and get this out of the way. I'm here at HeroesCon. I'll be here all weekend. If you see me, say hey. I don't bite unless you're mean. Or I look like I'm a deer in headlights. But regardless, that's just me running around. So there's this print that you get when you get your ticket. And you also get an armband, which I didn't get one this time, but I don't need it this time for reasons. And you also get a program guide, which is of right here of the same print. And, of course, all the artists and creators are going to be here, and panel guide and all that kind of good stuff is in here. So that's pretty much all I got. And I actually brought books to sign this year, so yay.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
All righty. So just real quick on my end, if you follow at Angel_70 on Instagram and Twitter, you'll see some of the finds that I've picked up in the last week. I did pick up the Toys R Us exclusive Spider-Man and Mary Jane Marvel Legends. There they are. They are pretty hard to find, as one William Bruce West can attest to.
Yeah.
I'm very sorry about how apparently I've been kind of beating him to the punch on a couple of these exclusives, so I hope that he's able to track them down. I also picked up the an older figure for a good price. It is the Superior Spider-Man Marvel Legends from a number of waves ago of Spider-Man, and I know that PCN_Dirt is appreciative of the fact that I have now obtained one Otto Octavius playing as Peter Parker, as he is showing us his thumbs up on the screen for the viewers of the video podcast on YouTube.
Wait, is he?
Yes, he is.
Okay, I'll take your word for it, because that's not what I see. But
that is
which
actually, there he goes.
Which also means that you have now all of the spiders.
Almost.
Correct?
Almost. I'd lack the original Spider-Man 2099, and he is running for a pretty penny, so which is very, very, very disappointing.
Did they make a Spider Ham?
No, they have not yet.
Oh, see.
They have not yet, but it may be one of those things where it's like a baby Groot. But but they also re-articulated the they put in new articulation for the Rocket Raccoon for the current wave of Guardians of the Galaxy. The whatchamacallit, the Mantis wave, the Build-A-Figure. So that should be on its way. I definitely put in an order for that. So because the first Rocket Raccoon did not have much articulation at all from the first Guardians of the Galaxy wave. So,
AKA, we're going to get more of your money for getting the same.
Yeah,
getting
with
the same
only
figure.
exactly, with only a little bit more of a different paint job. So,
Hmm.
alrighty.
Hey,
So
maybe Spider-Ham will be a Build-A-Figure.
well, I always hope for the more substantial looking Build-A-Figure. So hopefully we'll get something, one of the bigger villains or whatnot for the next Spidey wave. But in any event, I guess I can get to the last ad read for the night before we close the show. So let me tell you about Skull Candy. Skull Candy makes the best headphones, earbuds, and gaming headsets, all with lifetime warranties. Skull Candy produces many types of audio accessories, including headphones, sports earbuds, Xbox and PlayStation gaming headsets, DJ headphones, and iPod and MP3 headphones. And now, for the listeners of the KLIQ Nation's Comic Book Chronicles, Skull Candy offers free standard shipping on your order. To help keep our podcast free, order from Skull Candy by going to cspn.us. That's cspn.us. Then click on the Keep Our Podcast Free link. Click on the Skull Candy banner and then shop for high-quality audio accessories with free standard shipping. Skull Candy Audio through cspn.us. Do it today. Alrighty, and take us home.
Who?
Third year.
Oh, I have to do this now?
Let's see. You finished.
Okay. Where's my thing? There's the camera. Hey guys. All right. Well, thanks for watching the show with us tonight. Don't forget to go to thekliqnation.com to check out past episodes. You can also find us, of course, on all of social media. Media. Both.
Yes.
And also you can find us cspn.us. You can find us in places like TuneIn Radio, SoundCloud, iTunes, all those great places where you can find audio copies of the past episodes. Or you can go to The KLIQ Nation on YouTube and you can find back issues of our video show. Isn't that great? So don't forget to check out my website, popculturenetwork.com. Also, don't forget to go to comicofthemonth.club and use the referral code DIRT. Sign up for your monthly box of comics. I just got notification today that mine was shipped out for June. So I'll be getting that probably in the next few days, which, of course, kind of sucks because I am actually going out of town on vacation, which, by the way, guys, I won't be on the show next week. You're hearing this at the same time as everybody else. But we're going to Great Wolf Lodge, so we're going to be doing indoor water park and Magic Quest stuff. So anyway,
all right, no commercial on that.
So I'll be there next week. So look for the Comic of the Month box. I'll be opening that in 2 weeks. Then, hopefully, I don't get antsy and rip it open before that. But we also have Agent_70. You can find him on Twitter and Instagram.
Yep.
And don't forget at Roddy Cat at News Nerds Need, and he's at Heroes Con. So make sure you take a look for him.
I will be taking pictures and probably Snapchatting and maybe Twittering stuff and other things. Who knows?
What kind of pictures?
Nice.
Are you going to be taking boudoir photos while you're there? Is that the type of pictures you're taking?
I mean, if somebody backs my Patreon, I might,
Ha ha.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for us. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.